So earlier this week, I made a video on F1 24 being announced coming out May 31st, and you should definitely go check that video out before you see the rest of this one. But in that video, we went through also an interesting little pre-purchase bonus. If you pre-order F1 24, you can get a taster of the 2024 cars and liveries, to be specific, in the current F1 game. We're here on F1 23, and there is a very unique time trial challenge in the game. If we go over to F1 World, which is probably the first time I'm going into it for some use for a while, to be honest, and we move over to time trial. Now, if you pre-purchase F1 24, I think the Champions Edition specifically you have to get via F1 23, so you boot up F1 23. If you go to the news tab here with the bottom left, so I don't have this anymore because I've gone through with it, but basically one of these little tiles will actually link you into pre-purchasing F1 24, and if you do that and you get the Champions Edition, which you get 15% off as well, if you have owned F1 2021, 22, 23, if you do that, then when you go to F1 World and you go to time trial, there will be a special 2024 preview and F1 Sim Racing preview, because as well as the 2024 liveries, which I'll get into in a moment, they've actually also got F1 Esports livery. So this is the official McLaren Shadow Esports livery, and then the Alpine Esports livery, which is very striking, very colourful compared to the real Alpine 2024 livery. And yeah, it's cool actually to see the esports teams actually getting their own liveries, because obviously in the, well, I was going to say in the actual esports championship, there hasn't been a championship per se. There's been one race, but in that they haven't. You know, there's no customized esports liveries. You know, it's the official F1 liveries that they use in the base game. But I have always thought it'd be cooler to let them actually use an esports livery, to like any other normal esports. Basically just give it its own ecosystem, its own liveries, its own look compared to real life Formula 1. But I digress. But you get those liveries, and those will actually carry over into F1 24, we were told. So those liveries will be available to you in the next game. But this is the F1 2024 preview then. So you go through that, it gets unlocked, and here we are then. This is the 2024 livery for McLaren. We've got Alpine, we've got Williams, and Haas. Quite surprised, to be honest, that Haas is included in this, because obviously I knew McLaren's always been very forward-thinking. They've been very, tuned in to the esports side of things, the gaming side of things. Obviously helps, with Lando having, been a gamer himself in lockdown, especially as well. I know Alpine have been very connected into the esports realm as well, because they run their own competitions. They've even had like esports, logos and stuff on their actual car. And Williams, to be fair as well, actually have invested quite a lot. They do a lot of stuff with the F1 game, with their esports team in other game categories. But Haas was a left field one. Like, only like a season ago, it seemed like they just did not care about their esports team at all. So I'm quite surprised they've actually flipped it, and now they've actually got bothered to do a partnership with the F1 game. And apparently, actually, to be fair, I actually shouldn't be saying that, because it seems like we're going to get all the teams, maybe? Because cast your minds back to the video I did earlier, in the week, and there was that little tidbit about more liveries to come, alongside a second wave of liveries coming at the end of April. Okay, alongside a second wave of new season liveries coming at the end of April. Yeah, so you unlock this time trial challenge, so you can only drive these cars in this specific time trial game mode, which is a little bit of a shame, but also you understand it's kind of a preview of the 2024 liveries. If they just gave us this in a Grand Prix mode and in career mode, there would be, less point maybe of buying the next game. This is meant to tease us a little bit, basically, but you can clearly see it's the same chassis. They're not the actual cars that we are seeing right now IRL later this week in the Bahrain Grand Prix. This is actually on a new generic FOM chassis. So this is actually, like it was last year, remember when they did the Alfa Romeo one, this is a little insight and look into next game's FOM My Team chassis. And if we go out onto track, just so that we can actually use the photo mode to properly see everything, we're going to get a little insight basically into the My Team chassis. Not, to be fair, the weird thing is this year is a lot of us might not really care too much about the My Team chassis, because we know now from the announcement that F124 will be having a all-new driver career mode, but they have not mentioned My Team verbally at all. So that would lead me to believe, because of the way they develop the games with split teams, that we won't be getting a new My Team or development or big enough developments of My Team to kind of boast about at this stage of the marketing cycle until maybe a future game. So this chassis may not be of interest really to me, to you, all of us who play career mode. The meta, as it were, might be switching over to playing driver career for most of the game cycle. So it may not matter what this chassis looks like, but no matter what, it's still pretty exciting to get a little insight, an early look at some sort of chassis, some sort of, part of the game that will be in F1 2024 early in F1 23. And you can see the chassis actually has changed quite a fair bit. So let's start off with the biggest change you can really see, which is that engine cover area. So if we zoom in here, so you can see now we've got the massive kind of shotgun exits on the top of the engine cover, very much mimicking like what Mercedes had last year. It's not as extreme as what Red Bull have this season, and it's actually more extreme than Mercedes have this year. Ironically, Mercedes have actually calmed down these kind of bathtub shotgun gullies at the top of the engine cover, but they are here in the generic car. You've got a much bigger cut-in to that tunneling on the main part of this side pod. You can really see where the air would be channeled towards the diffuser area. We've got a slightly larger undercut and a bit more pronounced side pod shape as a whole, basically. You can also see the exhaust is very, very long now. Or it just looks very, very long because the engine cover has been cut short a little bit with the gully. The rear wing looks exactly the same, I would say. The front wing, the actual wing itself is the same. The nose, though, has changed. They brought the nose forwards, and it kind of connects a bit more to the front plane of the front wing compared to, I think it was a bit further back, in the normal F123 My Team chassis. And then the rest of it looks pretty similar, I would say. Maybe tiny little geometry changes here and there. The inlet actually looks quite similar, to be honest. I think if I can make some remarks, if this was meant to be a generic 2024 car, I'm still questioning why the front wing looks so basic. Like, there should be more sculpture to the wings, because no team has this basic as hell front wing flap structure. Even the same with the end plate, the way it connects. Now we see the proper, getting back to how we had, scoop turns to really move the air about. Also, the nose itself. Okay, yeah, they've changed it. Yeah, there are a few teams like Red Bull that are moving the nose to the front. But if we see the majority of teams actually shortening the nose and raising the nose and having a wing come underneath the nose. So it's a little bit, annoying that it's not following that sort of trend, because this does very much look like, from the front end, a very basic car compared to, you want the My Team car, the generic car, to look like a real Formula 1 car. On the back end, the rear end, the engine cover, that's much better. That is definitely looking like the pattern of a 2024 car. But yeah, this is the same chassis then you get on the Alpine, on the Williams, on the Haas, but this will basically be the chassis you get if you were to play My Team Career Mode in F1 24, or of course if you're playing multiplayer or God forbid F1 World in F1 2024, this would be the chassis you get basically. But in terms of the time trial challenge, if you are hoping for different physics or different engine sounds or anything, no, it's basically just a cosmetic thing. Underneath, if you look at the game files, The performance is the exact same as their 2023 counterparts. The sound is no different. It's just the chassis, the actual visual architecture has changed basically. But I'm not going to go into doing a lap or anything like that because, yeah, I mean, this is it. It's basically a time trial, basically. You can switch over to a different car. I mean, I'm going to show you, I may as well show you all the different cars from the onboard because that's a little preview, I guess, of what the F1 2024 is going to look like in terms of the onboard from these different cars. Obviously, the geometry will be different. But, yeah, the Alpine, very, very black. If you choose the Alpine in driver career mode, there's really not a lot of color going on at all, really. And it's going to be the same for maybe quite a few cars. The Williams going to have a decent amount of blue going on. Actually, you know what? Let's see how ugly that line is across, because I really did not like it when they launched it. It looks okay. It looks okay. I'm still a little bit upset at that line on the top of the chassis, but it's not a bad onboard for the Williams car. Still plenty of carbon fiber on the halo, for example. Then you get to the Haas, which I said in my ranking of the liveries was just mid. It was just mid. It wasn't anything special. And on the game, there's a few less sponsors actually compared to real life, so it looks quite bare bones actually. And then we get back to the McLaren, which doesn't have the blue this year, so even the McLaren is very bare bones in terms of it's on board. Like, well and truly, that's mostly carbon fiber. And orange, which is a shame. It's a little bit of a shame because the rest of the car actually looks mean and there's so much orange on the rest of the car, but the onboard, there's not that much orange going on, so it looks like a bare bones car from the T-Cam. I'll show you the F1 sim racing preview as well, just so you can see the onboard and the exterior shots of the sim racing liveries, because I'm sure there might be a few people interested in seeing the McLaren Esports. And ironically, actually, that halo looks slightly better on the Esports livery than the 2024 livery. But this is the McLaren Esports livery then. Actually looks very sleek, very, very sleek. Obviously, got some different sponsors like Neum and McLaren Shadows logo, Splunk, specific sponsors basically to the Esports team. And then you get Alpine's Esports team, which even more so than McLaren, absolutely, this car looks so much better than their actual livery. Like, that looks pretty damn cool. That's a cool pattern. It's actually got color on it. It's a metallic finish. I like it. I like it a lot. And it's cool to see this. Hopefully we see this more. Like, ideally, actually, in my opinion, all the teams should have their own esports livery. And that's the livery that the sim racing guys run in the championship. Well, if there is going to be a championship at some point properly. Yeah, because it just gives that difference to real-life Formula 1, basically. But that is the preview of F1 2024 in the 23 game. I thought I'd just make a video on it just to kind of show it off, basically, because I know there might be a lot of people that actually don't end up wanting to pre-purchase the game, so you can kind of see what you're getting into. Or, if you've pre-purchased it, maybe you just didn't know where to unlock it, or if you do want to actually get this preview to try it out for yourselves, you wanted to know how it actually works and what you have to do. So just want to make this video as more of an informational video, basically, just to tell you what you basically get in it. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and especially as soon as there's any sort of F1 24 news, I'm going to be straight on it, as you guys always know I like to be. But till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.